I've been thinking about whether or not video games have ever had a positive impact on my life before. I mean, I've played games that have left me with fond memories and nothing but great things to say about in the past, which I'm sure we all have. But when it comes to thinking of games that had such a profound effect on me that it actually changed my outlook on life, I'm really hard pressed to think of one. Not that video games need to be didactic or anything, but I think they have more value as something that can be educational than we give them credit for. As cheesy as it sounds, I know games that have helped people learn to discipline themselves, games that have helped people to find a sense of community, and games that were serious wake-up calls for others to do some introspection. I can really only think of one game that's affected me in the same kind of way, and it's this obscure little PS2 title called Chulip. I came across this game by watching bits and pieces of a let's play of it like a decade ago, just to date this video, but just a few years back I rediscovered it and started playing it on my own, and man, I really was not expecting what this game had to offer. At first glance, Chulip seems like this cute and quirky little adventure game about a boy who kisses every person, every animal, and every object he comes across. But once you start to play the game, you realize Chulip is actually a pretty relatable game about people who are just living their day-to-day lives. It's a game about an artist who has an internal conflict between getting a job or following his passion, a begging monk and his daughter, an aging shop owner and his dog. It's this weird clash between the game's absurd humor and serious but mundane problems these characters face that not only gives the game a lot of its charm, but also highlights the fact that no matter your eccentricities, we're all dealing with this thing called a life. I believe that's one of the main philosophies of the game's director, Yoshiro Kimura. If there's one thing you should know about Kimura, it's that he's a man who loves life. Kimura is a man who appreciates everything the world has to offer and finds fascination in all walks of life. One of his biggest passions besides designing video games is traveling the world and discovering different cultures. It should also come as no surprise that his experiences traveling the globe and meeting all different types of people have even had an effect on his career as a game designer. For example, after leaving the game dev company Square sometime in the 90s for lack of creative freedom, he started to grow dispassionate with video games, and in an effort to find some excitement, he traveled to the South American country of Peru. While there, he stumbled across a small impoverished village who practically lived in tents, but noticed they had a makeshift arcade that was lined with Super Nintendos and filled with children who had nothing but the look of joy on their faces. Seeing just how much happiness these games from Japan could bring to these children who lived across the world, Kimura found his passion with video games reignited, and he joined the short-lived avant-garde studio, Love-de-Lic. By the way, looking at the history these guys have had, I have to talk about all of these games one day. Chulip came from Kimura's own company Punchline, which he founded shortly after leaving Love-de-Lic. You know, it's funny, even the idea for Chulip came from a simple observation Kimura had from his experiences traveling the world. One of the things that caught his eye about Western culture was how normal it was to see couples kissing in public, and he wished it was more accepted in Japan to the point where he designed his company's first game around that idea. It's a miracle we even got this game over here in the West. It was released on October 3rd, 2002 in Japan for the PlayStation 2 back when the system was fairly new, but it didn't see a release in North America until 5 years later in 2007 when the PS3 had already hit the shelves. Punchline apparently had plans with their publisher Natsume to release it as early as 2004, but they faced constant delays due to how thorough they were being with the translation. Natsume also knew from the start Chulip would be an obscure title and had it released exclusively in GameStops for as low as $15. Yeah, it was both a critical and financial failure on release, but I really believe this game is the definition of a hidden gem, and I want to spread the word of Chulip, so why don't I tell you what this game is all about? It's one of those games that begins right at the title screen. Once you select new game, a face pops out of this tree and both the player character, a poor boy, and his love interest walk up to it. You name the both of them and then the tree weds you. But not really, because it was just the dream the poor boy had while traveling to his new home with his father in Long Life Town. While your dad is getting settled in, he tells you to go greet your new neighbors, and this is where the poor boy meets the girl from his dreams. I named her Sunny with a V because I'm an idiot, but I'm gonna refer to her as Akiko from now on because that's the name Punchline used for her as a placeholder in development. She asks if you want to kiss her, but rejects the poor boy anyway for having no reputation. Defeated, the poor boy returns home, but his father comes up with the idea to to write her a love letter that'll win her over, which he does. And after placing his confession inside a postbox, he hears a voice from the inside that tells him his letter sucks, and they'll teach him how to write a better letter that'll win Akiko's heart over. So you go searching for the sound of this voice and find out it came from this Mr. Saturn looking thing called Mr. Suzuki, who lives underground and claims to be a teacher. True to his word, he teaches you how to increase your reputation by kissing other characters, and he says you need to use his special letter set to write the perfect love letter. But just as things start going well for the poor boy, the letter set is stolen by one of Mr. Suzuki's employees, Mr. Yamada. And just when you're about to retrieve the letter set from Mr. Yamada, he has the letter set stolen from him by other employees who disperse all over the map. And now our game really starts with the poor boy's goal being to find and retrieve all pieces of the letter set. It's a bit long for a prologue, but it does do everything it needs to. You get introduced to a few of the characters you're going to be seeing all throughout the game, and the game does a good job of hiding its tutorial in the story. So the main goal of the game, besides retrieving all pieces of the letter set, is to raise your reputation so Akiko will kiss you. And the way you do this is by getting in everyone's good graces. This is done by talking to them and learning what they're upset about, which ranges from someone losing their golden souvenir to a couple being in strife because they're in a broken marriage. Once you fix whatever's wrong, then they'll hit you with a kiss, give you some money, and raise your reputation by 1 point. Also, once your reputation crosses certain thresholds, you can level up by sleeping at home, which gives you more hit points. The really fun thing about getting a kiss from everyone isn't actually the kiss, but just figuring out how to get it in the first place. See, most characters won't actually just tell you what's wrong with them, they'll hint at something they're unhappy with. Then you'll have to gossip with other characters to learn more about them and what to do. You're able to do this by presenting items relevant to that character to others. Here's an easy kiss to show you how the game works, for example. In order to kiss this giant lion named Leo, you need to take a bath because he thinks you stink. But it's not just good enough for you to sit in the water and feel clean, you need to take a proper bath using these buckets to both wash and relax. He gets pissed at you if you do it in the wrong order though, and of course he won't teach you what to do, so you turn to the townsfolk, and by presenting Leo's bathhouse card to everyone, they'll collectively teach you the correct method for taking a bath. And so we take another bath again in the correct order this time thanks to everyone's help, and look at that, we just got another kiss. Also, after you kiss a character once, you can kiss them again whenever you like, and have more extensive conversations with them about certain things. Like now I'm having tea with Leo talking about school, and it somehow gets into us talking about his dead girlfriend. That got dark. Here's another good example of how the game works too. I didn't get a kiss here, but I managed to stumble across a secret item. I went to the snack shop to buy some healing items and noticed the gum was notably more expensive than everything else, and so I figured this had to be something important, right? So I bought it and presented it to other characters and found out the bartender Julie, who was also Akiko's mother, just a quick FYI, is afraid of the gum for some reason. So I went to Julie and I presented the gum to her, and she had an entire story about how she and Leo were playing together as children and saw another kid disappear after they gave him some of their gum and heard the sound of crows. So then I went to Leo and presented the gum to him and learned the kid disappeared behind the very same snack shop I bought the gum from. So I went all the way back to the snack shop and waited for the sound of crows before eating the gum. And wouldn't you know it, there was a hidden item here all along. Alright, last example, and perhaps my favorite kiss, was Zombie Mika's. In order to kiss her, you have to speak with her a few times actually. If you head to this tree that's hidden in the corner of a graveyard at night, you'll see this green wisp that'll transport you to this dreamy garden where Mika rests under a tree. If you talk to her, you'll learn she really sucks at making tea, so much so that it pains the poor boy to drink it. But if you endure the pain, you'll also learn Mika enjoys making tea because a boy she liked when she was alive loved it. All the while Mika is just falling apart. I mean, she loses her arm, she loses her eye, which we're just able to pocket for some reason. She can't even remember her name anymore at this point. And because she's unable to make tea anymore, she asks us to make the perfect tea for her. But there's only one person in town who knows how to make tea, the same person whose girlfriend died. So Leo makes the tea, he reminisces about his girlfriend again, and because we pocketed the eye of Mika earlier, she's happy she got to see her love one last time. Don't ask me how that works, and kiss. That kiss was kind of on the zanier side of things, but I promise the other issues characters face in this game are a lot more realistic, like the alcoholic director Goro who's depressed because he's no longer in the prime of his life. How do you get a kiss from him? You just give him a shoulder to lean on. This is how you get through most of the game, and really you're just talking to people. It's all about piecing together these little bits of information you learn from different residents of Long Life Town. It's a simple kind of gameplay, but a really fun one. The fact that these characters know so much about each other in Long Life Town really makes this town feel like a connected community with a lot of history as well. Another thing that helps the game to feel alive is the 24-hour day and night cycle all the NPCs adhere to with their very own schedules. I know this has been done in games before Chulip, and it can be really polarizing, but I'm a fan of this system. You'll spot characters in different places with new dialogues, and the town's creepy policeman goes on patrol at night. There's even a train you can travel to different locations with that operates on real time. Unfortunately, the day and night cycle also comes with its own downsides. The main objective of the game is to kiss other characters, right? But because they're all on their own schedules, this can mean you'll miss out on opportune moments and be forced to wait an entire in-game day to kiss them again. This goes beyond kissing characters too. You can miss out on the train and be stuck in a different area for hours. The game gives you ways to speed up time, but they're not always helpful. You can go home and sleep in your futon to pass the time, but you need to be in Long Life Town, and if you miss that last train back, you'll have to wait all night. You can buy comic books to read at train stops, which will pass the time as well, but your character will just rip them apart after a few uses anyways. Also, there's a 50-50 chance they'll hurt you after each use. And while I'm on the topic of being hurt, it feels like you unnecessarily take damage from a lot of things in this game. To be fair, the game will warn you most of the time about something that's gonna hurt you, but why is the game so picky about what hurts you in the first place? Like, if I go down this slide, I get hurt, but if I jump off this swing, it heals me? The only thing I kind of like being a gamble were the letters you'd get in your mailbox from certain characters after kissing them. 9 times out of 10, they were a free heal. Just save often, because if you die, it's all the way back to your last save, and you should be ready to die a lot in this game. My advice to anyone who struggles to get anything done on time in this game is not to see a missed kiss or train as a failure on your part, but another chance to explore the town some more, because there's always something new to come across in this game. Look for secret items hidden by the camera, and search the trash cans for treasure, and sneak into people's houses and read their notebooks, and watch these films you discover in Goro's theater. I mean, Long Life Town doesn't have the same attention to detail in it as, say, a Hyrule from a Zelda game would have. But more often than not, the game will have something new for you to notice around every corner, and that's more than enough to keep you wanting to explore the world of Chulip. I was almost done with the game before I discovered this guy called Johnny the Night Walking Invisible Man who gives you a bunch of money. The game is jammed packed with these little secrets like this, and they're always fun to come across. In fact, I would say exploration is this game's strongest aspect. There's always a new side story to be initiated with every character you meet, every building you enter. Let's see, what are the locations of the game? There's Long Life Town, our main hub of course. There's the Worldly Desire Temple where a monk and a bunch of supernatural creatures live. There's the Scarecrow Fields where you can plant seeds for vegetables. And the Funny Bone City, which has a factory you can become the president of. Honestly, the Funny Bone Factory was my least favorite area in the game, and I feel like it's worth mentioning just for how annoying it was. It was such a bitch to get around because you had to do so much just to navigate this place. So first you have to take a train to Funny Bone City, but you can't just get to Funny Bone City through Long Life Town. You have to take a train to the Worldly Desire Temple first and buy a ticket that's 5 times the price of the ticket you bought for the Worldly Desire Temple to get there. And I hope you did all of that first thing in the morning too, because that's the only time you're gonna be able to get into the factory. They shoot you out of a cannon if you try to get in otherwise, and if you miss that last train back, you're gonna have to wait all night in this little square with nothing for you to do but save your game. But once you're able to enter the factory, you're free to do whatever you want. The game will automatically push you through different areas of the factory every so often whenever you're with the other workers and security guards. But if you talk to some of the workers, you'll learn there's a security guard who's kind of lazy and lacking in one of the areas which you're supposed to hide in so you can explore the factory after hours. What's really annoying about the lazy guard is it changes daily, so you can't expect to hide in the same spot 2 days in a row. But once the guard leaves and night falls, the factory is yours to explore as you wish. You can turn these number dials in this subway thing to travel wherever you please and take care of some objectives you're only able to at night. Now, it's cool doing all of this the first time. Sneaking on the job just to roam the place after hours is fun, but it quickly turns into tedium. Every time you want to visit this factory, you have to travel 2 trains to Funnybone City first thing in the morning, and then you have to talk to all of these workers to find the one that'll tell you which area the lazy guard is in, and then you have to find the hiding spot, and then you have to slowly turn these number dials to get to different areas, and you will have to make multiple trips back to the factory because you can't do everything you need to here in one night. I think a lot of this could have been fixed simply by making Funnybone City accessible from Long Life Town's train station, where we spend like 75% of the game anyway, and by making it so we're able to enter the factory at any time we wanted to. Like, I get that we're going for a realism thing here, you have to show up on time for work in the morning, but I think some consistency can be sacrificed for the player's convenience. Also, I'm the goddamn president of the company now, let me enter whenever I want to. Why do I need to hide from the security guard now? Anyways, I'm done ranting now. You get to know all these locations like the back of your hand pretty damn quick. It helps that this game has a lot of personality too. It manages to be weird and at times off-putting, but still endearing at the same time. Like, I like how these random objects with faces are just treated as normal people, and I like hearing these random sound effects they apply to everything, and these funny little icons that change every time you make a new save, and the Animal Crossing speech all the characters have. It's really the little things like this that make the game unforgettable for me. The soundtrack is catchy too, but the main theme for each of these areas is the same doo-wop song, and it can get a little annoying hearing it over and over. Thankfully they remix it for each area, and that gives it some variety, but I still got tired of it pretty quick. My favorite song has to be the one by the town's deadbeat Batayan called The Widower's Serenade though. You can hear this one if you tip him some money in the evening. The way I describe Chulip visually is crude, but still cute in its own childish way. Notice how both the clock and health bar on the HUD have been drawn in bold sketches, but look like they were colored in with some crayon or colored pencils. Also, the characters' models are all designed in a way that's meant to be both cartoonishly adorable, but still peculiar enough so everyone stands out in their own unique style. Even the game's environment manages to strike a balance between comforting with the ambient sounds of the townsfolk accompanying you on your slow strolls through Long Life Town, but still harsh with their intentionally being a general depression about everyone in the town. And now that I think about it, I guess the crude and cute thing kinda works thematically as well. I mean, the fact that every other character in this game deals with serious problems and emotions like grief and depression, and we just happen to be some cute little innocent kid in the middle of it all. This one chick named Michelle literally bottles up her reserved emotions, but we just give her an eggplant to make her feel better and leave that cult she's a part of. It's dark, but it's funny. In addition to the normal surface dwellers of Long Life Town, this game also has these underground residents who live in these cracks on the ground who are easier to kiss. These guys you either have to wait out until they finish doing their little animations or solve a puzzle before they're happy enough to kiss you. Be careful though, because if you kiss them too soon or too late, they'll hurt you, and some of these guys can hit hard. I should also mention, the underground residents only come out at certain times of the day, and this is yet another mark against the day and night system. You never know when they're gonna pop out of their holes. Sometimes if you take a peek down their crack, they'll hint at what time they're gonna pop out, so you can keep an eye on the clock and know when to be near the crack. But most of the times it's just a matter of you sitting by their holes and waiting for them to come out. Sometimes you'll get lucky and spot one of them outside of their holes, but most of the time it's a waiting game. It's especially tedious late game when you've kissed most everyone in the game already and have to wait God knows how long for the last few underground residents. Thankfully, the devs knew how irritating a problem this was, and by the time the game came over to the West, they had included a walkthrough for the underground residents inside the manual. It's actually a walkthrough for the entire game, but I recommend not using it because you can get through most of this game without it. Most of this game. Certain parts of the game I tried over and over to solve on my own, because that's the fun of Chulip, talking to everyone and figuring out what to do in every instance, whether it be to get a kiss or some secret item. But I scoured the game for what to do in some of these objectives, and the game just does not help you at all. Take this kiss concerning Dr. Dandy for example. You can't kiss him in the daytime because he's always sleeping, but if you observe him at night, you'll notice he has a vampiric alter ego that prowls the streets, and if he catches you, he'll take your blood, still preventing you from kissing him. But if you sneak into his office when he's out and about, you'll find there's a cure for the doctor. The only thing you need to do is gather up some ingredients to make it. Alright, so the cure needs a certain type of cicada. Well, I remember picking one of those up in the trash bins. They're easy enough to find. It also needs a frog with blue dots on the back. That's easy. I found some of those in the trash too. What's next? Sleep apple? Alright, well, there's probably one in the snack shop, right? Sleep apple? Nope, they don't have those. Alright, well, let's visit the general store. Maybe I overlooked something in there. No, there's nothing here either. Alright, well, let me check the trash bins again. After all, that's where I found both the frog and cicada. And nope, I'm just getting a lot of poop. Where the hell is the sleep apple? Alright, so get this. It turns out the sleep apple is in the snack shop, but it's not just called a sleep apple like it is in Dr. Dandy's notes. It's called popsicle. How? I mean, it works. I made the cure using the cicada, the frog, and the popsicle, and I got a kiss for my efforts, but how would I have known to buy the popsicle without using this walkthrough? Maybe it's my fault, and I missed something in the game, but I don't recall coming across anything that tells you sleep apples are also referred to as popsicles. It also could have just been a localization issue, and Natsume just forgot to clear it up in the translation, but no wait, they refer to it correctly as popsicle in the manual's walkthrough, so why not just change the name of the item in the game as well? And here's a really bad one. One of the last characters you need to kiss is an alien whose ship crashed in Long Life Town and just wants to get back to his home planet. And the fun thing about this guy is he speaks in alien, which actually can be translated through these dictionaries you find all throughout the game. I actually made a text file to document his vocabulary and translate everything he says, and after talking to him for a while, you find out he needs a few things too. But unlike Dr. Dandy, all his stuff is easier to get together. So you bring him everything he needs, and once night falls, he's managed to put together a device that sends out distress signals that'll call his people to retrieve him. Cool. What's next? Trouble codes, I forgot, help me, I'm going home, please. Okay, well, I planted these star seeds I came across earlier, so I guess that's the code I have to put into this machine, right? Something is written on the screen. Alright, well, let me put the code in. Something is written on the screen. Maybe I missed something. Let me talk to the alien again. Nope, he just says the same thing as before. Alright, and here's where I got stuck again. Do me a favor and take a guess on what it is you do next. It's really not that complex a solution, but it's not something you'd ever think of doing. You have to use a soda can on the machine before you're allowed to interact with it. You won't get this, and do you want to know why? The line by the alien hinting that you need to use a soda on this machine was completely omitted from the localization. Unless you do some crazy experimentation, chances are you'll be stuck here for the rest of the game if you choose not to consult a walkthrough. I don't know how I would have done it. Thankfully, most of my other criticisms of this game, besides everything I just mentioned, are minor. Like, sometimes the NPCs have finicky hitboxes when you're trying to talk to them, and I did spot a few spelling errors. Some of the other things I didn't like about the game actually had fixes too, like there's no way to run it all initially, but you can find and kiss an underground resident who rewards you with a devil fruit that grants you the ability to sprint. You can even find and kiss an underground resident that gives you the ability to choose when you want to wake up after sleeping at home, which makes things so much easier. And now I've mentioned just about everything I wanted to, except for how the story ends. Spoilers, of course. I'm gonna put a timestamp on the screen that shows when I stop talking about the game's story, but chances are what you think is the ending is the ending. The game goes about it in an interesting way though, and if Chulip interests you at all, I think it's worth experiencing on your own. Last chance. Okay. Alright, so after you've kissed everyone to raise your reputation and retrieved all pieces of the letter set, Mr. Suzuki helps you write the perfect love letter, which you have to put in the postbox. Not the one you used before though, you gotta find the right mailbox this time, and the only place where you can go now is the playground. Once you make your way there, you find out your dad not only happens to be one of the weird Mr. Saturn things, but most everything you went through in this game was orchestrated by him in order to make you a better man. And he's not done just yet. You then fall into this hole they dug up, and things start to get surreal. You go through a weird gauntlet of sorts. In the first room you enter, Goro asks you to choose his correct head out of a lineup of lookalikes, which was easy, but weird. And then you walk into a room where Julie is singing to a bunch of chickens, but turns into a court trial where you have to defend her in court using the testimonies of townsfolk. Also easy, but weird. And then you walk into a room with a giant version of Akiko's cat who quizzes you on arbitrary things like how long has the conductor been working at his job, and what's the age of certain characters. Also kind of easy, but weird. I think it's interesting that this game ends on a quiz of all things, and not just any quiz, but one about everyone's ages, their relationships, their schedules, their idiosyncrasies. It's all very personal, but I think I get what Kimura was going for here. Correctly answering these questions shows that you really got to know and care for the residents of Long Life Town in the game's own way. I mean, it can be hard to remember we're all living our own lives with our own complex feelings and personal issues, and most people honestly wouldn't commit those things to memory about each other. But the endings quiz is essentially asking you if you cared for and paid enough attention to these characters to remember these finer details. It's all about compassion is what I'm trying to say, and if there's anything Chulip wants you to take away from it, I believe it's just that. Try to be the kind of person the poor boy's father was shaping his son into throughout the entire game. The kind of person who gives their friends a shoulder to lean on and genuinely cares for what they have to say. That's why I think it was such a good idea to make most of the problems these characters face realistic as well. Not everybody needs to beat a living anthropomorphic charcoal in combat for a sword to perform an exorcism on a monk, but that part about the monk needing donations just to keep the lights on is a very relatable day-to-day issue for a lot of people, and like I said, it can be hard for a lot of us to remember that. But no matter how miserable it got for some of these characters, and how much life kept putting them down, just having someone compassionate like the poor boy who could show them that someone cares about what they're going through meant the world. What I'm trying to say is, try to be more like the poor boy. It seems like the kind of ending that's open to a lot of interpretations. That's just how I see it. But yeah, after getting through the cat's quiz, the poor boy mails his love letter in the correct postbox, and then the hand of God places him in front of the tree he saw in his dream. Then Akiko appears and you finally kiss her. It's a happy ending for everyone. Literally, everyone is here. Wait a second. That is Chulip. If you can't tell by now, I like this game a lot. I played it to completion in one of my lowest, most miserable, just secluded from society, misanthropic points of my life. And the game's message on just being mindful of others really stuck with me and got me out of that funk. It was a reminder to me that everyone, literally everyone, is dealing with lives of their own, some much worse than mine, and now I honestly look back at that point of my life with embarrassment. I mean, I'm not perfect, I still have my moments of cynicism, and I'm still probably more of a hermit than I should be, but I try to be the kind of person that's more thoughtful of others these days, and a part of that is honestly thanks to Chulip. That's just what I took away from it though. Maybe it was more personal to me, but I still do think there's multiple lessons that can be taken away here once you look past how cartoonish and silly this game can be. This game made me a big fan of Yoshiro Kimura. Reading about him and learning his history was really fascinating. Today he works as president of the independent game studio Onion Games, which obtained the rights to Love-de-Lic's magnum opus, Moon Remix, which was previously a Japanese PlayStation 1 exclusive, and not only gave it a modern port to all systems, but a full English translation for all regions. I hope Chulip can get that same remaster treatment eventually. I mean, if you want to play Chulip today, you might have to shell out up to $200 for a physical copy. Chulip is available for purchase on the PlayStation Store as a PS2 classic, but according to everywhere I check, it only has backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 3. I don't have a PlayStation 3, 4, or 5 though, so I have no way of verifying if that's true. You know, I really don't think Chulip would be as panned as it was in 2007 if it came out today either. I mean, this game is far from perfect. The day and night cycle can be very frustrating at times, and the constant deaths resetting you back to your last save can be very annoying. But if more people were able to just play Chulip without having to sail the high seas, I think they would be able to look past those issues, and there would be a lot of newfound appreciation for this game. These quirkier indie games thrive much more now than they did 20 years ago. If a modern port came out today that at least fixed the misspellings and included the completely omitted alien line about the soda can, I could easily see not only Chulip, but Love-de-Lic as one of those indies that gathers a decent cult following. Not to say that there already isn't one though. Shout out to the unofficial Chulip Discord. They helped me ID the source of this picture and have a bunch of obscure material archived that I probably wouldn't have discovered on my own. Those guys are great, and I'm sure they'd all be down to buy a modern port of this game as well. But truthfully, I don't know if we'll ever get that theoretical remaster though. Onion Games' next game is supposedly Kimura's last, which he says he's putting his all into, and I'm really interested to see what'll come out of that. But I have no idea what that means for the future of Onion Games. The only thing I'm certain of is that if you can, please give Chulip a chance. Hi everyone, it's Cosmo. I hope you enjoyed this Chulip video. Sorry it took a while to come out, and I've been busy with life and stuff. Sorry it's not the Danganronpa video either, that's still on the way. That series is almost done, man, just 2 games left. I'll probably talk about the Yakuza games next. Anyways, I'll see you all next time. Bye.